If y'all type y'all's questions in all caps, I can probably read them from here.
Thank you so much for tuning to Girlfriendz Chat Corner today. We are in the house. I am Inga Anderson.
I'm Ingrid Rachel Project.
And we're in the house with Toby. Hey, how you doing?
I'm great, guys.
I'm so excited. I got butterflies.
That was my one squeal until the next squeal.
I know. You know what, you guys? We've been talking a little bit so far, and this interview is about to blow your mind. I mean, I'm just tongue twisted today because I'm just excited about him being here.
I'm just happy. Yeah, I'm very happy to be here.
So how are you doing?
I'm happy too. Okay, so I'm just as happy that these two beautiful ladies sitting next to me. No problem.
Let me calm down. I'm calm.
We're having a groovy moment right now. We are. It's okay.
So how are you doing?
If you guys get this excited for behind the scenes guy, you know, I'd be amazed that if I was babyface sitting here.
Oh, well, you know, it's not about you being, you look at it as being small, but when we get into your career, it's not going to seem small to you no more. Because I've seen your profile, you got a wiki,
yeah,
and I've seen all the people you work for, true work, hard work you put in. Exactly. So you think it's behind the scenes, I think it's incredible.
Well, I have my days in front of the scenes, but my blessings took me behind the scenes to work with some really great people, great artists, great people.
That's wonderful. You know what though? But before we get started, we do it every show. You know what I'm talking about? Icebreaker. So, you know what I did today, y'all?
She found a movie she wanted us to read.
I did not find a movie.
No movie?
I did not.
No movie.
Music.
La musica.
And guess what, you guys? I'm going to do the music of people he worked for. So, we're going to see how good his memory is, okay? So,
there's a lot.
Mr. Rivers.
Here we go, memory time.
I am going to read. You want to sing it? Some of them?
If I know, Mom.
Okay.
Of course I know.
Of course you do. She knows them. I'm going to read it. Ingrid's going to sing it. She remembers the song. And you're going to guess the artist.
Sounds easy.
Okay. All right. Hold on. Wait a minute. I know you guys. This is so cheesy, but I have to do it.
It's her happy place, and don't you take that away from her.
It's my happy place. I just love doing this. Most of the time I do movies, or I do music, or we do skits. And you better be glad we didn't make you read a skit. I mean, you couldn't
normally,
read there.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were doing that kind of stuff.
Normally you get a skit situation.
All right, you ready? First one. I'll never leave him down though. I mess around. It's only because I want some affection. Oh, so I'll
never leave him down. Oh, I mess up.
Hey!
Only because I need some
Oh,
attention.
come on, Toby. So I creep. Yeah, just creeping on the down low.
That's it. That's it.
You got that now. Okay. You get it? How's it going?
I understand.
Okay, you're
got it.
all right, next song. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Dwayne. Hey, Caroline. How you doing? Okay, so next song. Hey. Lord, wait a minute, I got the giggles. Okay, I'm ready. Baby, let me love you down. There's so many ways to love you. Baby, I can break it down.
Baby, let me love you down. There's so many ways to love you. Baby, I can break it down.
Come on. Who is it?
This was Getting Past Me.
Love you. Got me saying, oh my God, I'm so in love.
Come on, Ingrid.
Found you finally. You make me wanna say,
She knows the song really well.
It's your boy. Usher.
Oh, let me learn that.
Usher. Okay.
See, I remember Usher's big hits by the ones that used to make my skin crawl when he touched stage. The first one's like the "You Make Me Wanna."
Yeah, you make me want. You know, I should have just like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Or you remind me, didn't you?
Yeah, remind me. Yeah. Okay. So now this one right here.
Thank you.
And this one right here, if you don't get it, You might be getting a call from somebody.
Okay.
He may be getting a call from somebody if he don't get this.
I put some pressure on her, brother.
Because I seen her, I'll give you, it's a woman. I see her all over your profile. So I know you work with her a lot. I think you do some work for her now. So, okay, here I go. I always think of you inside my private thoughts. I imagine you touching my private parts. I can't help to touch myself. That's why I want you so bad. Just one night. I want to think of you inside of my private thoughts. Can't imagine you touching my private parts. Hey, come on, Ingrid. You made me laugh. Can't go that long.
Come on, Dad.
It's Tony Braxton. Ooh, okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I know I'm playing.
Oh my gosh. Now,
Karaoke later, karaoke.
exactly. You know what? That is so super cool. So you got them all.
Yeah, we didn't have a lot of artists on the label talking about touching private parts, so.
Yes.
So that was an easy, that was an easy one, yeah.
Only Tony Braxton do. What? Wait a minute. Did Pink do something like that too? Pink was kind of like real racy.
Not when she was on the face.
Yeah, no.
She had like,
She was
there you
kinda
go, all of that. No, she didn't start saying all the F words and stuff like that till she came out.
You
Like,
know, we
so
started
what
with
and
a
all that.
group though.
Yeah.
Now who was she signed
The
with?
group was called Choice.
Really?
And she was, when she sung all the lead songs and the demos,
She stood up?
we went back to the table and said, no sense in her being in a group, that's a solo act.
Now, and that was when you were in Ellie Reed's office. You guys worked together too. So tell me about the, let's go back. Let's stop before we go there. Let's talk about you first. Your name, Toby Rivers. Senior.
Senior now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're from
Cincinnati,
Ohio. Born and raised here.
Kennedy Heights.
Kennedy Heights.
we don't have, we can
yeah, where's that?
They probably, you know what, they probably have a sign now.
Okay.
We just didn't when I was coming through.
Now, and then, I know a lot of people don't know, but some people, sometimes you're behind the scenes kind of guy, but you have a lot of power when it comes to like, getting folks together, organizing them, and music producing. So, tell them exactly what your job was when you were with LA and Babyface and all them. After 7.
One of the things we noticed when we started signing acts, and I would go to the shows, so LA and I would be sitting there, maybe with a couple other people from the label, and we'd look at the performances weren't up to par in my eyes. So I can remember one day asking LA, can I work with these artists? These artists need somebody, and I had spent a lifetime on stage, so it was an easy transition for me to take the artist kind of under my wing and show them how to be on stage. Then when you put a song out, well, on the radio, they don't end, they just fade out, or they go to the next song.
Right.
So I would put an intro on the song, put an event in the middle, and then put an outro on the song so that it ended show style, because you can't fade a song out on stage. Okay. So that's basically what I did for the artist, and then it just kind of grew and grew and grew. The next thing you know, I'm doing Puffy's acts, Jermaine Dupri's acts, and Dallas Austin acts.
Right,
so
right.
It just kind of
Carl Thomas, all of them. Yeah. The list is like huge. And I want to go through some of the ones before we go further. I mean, this interview is so compact with so much stuff because he has done so much. But I'm going to read some of the people that he's worked with. And this is not even the full list. Usher, TLC, Tony Braxton, Pink, Monica, Faith Evans, Deborah Cox, SWV, Jagged Edge, Escape, 112, Carl Thomas, Darnell Jones, Sam Slaughter. I don't know who that one is. Okay.
He had a great album on his face, and I still listen to some of those songs sometimes. Great little guy, great singer.
Is he R&B?
R&B to the bone, came out of church. But unfortunately, the label had so many acts.
Yeah.
You kind of got lost in the shuffle. That's a great way to put it, yeah.
And that's an easy thing to do, to get lost in it. You can have talent, but you still can get lost in the shuffle.
Because Shanice was on there.
Yeah, she's on there. Yeah, she got lost too. And but one of your major ones that you had was you groomed after 7?
After 7, I got blessed. You know, Face had 2 older brothers. They had been singing in a group in Indianapolis, and I don't know the name of that group back before they made it. But once they got signed, and then they signed to Virgin Records through Face, through LA, Babyface. Got them a deal with Virgin Records, came up with a great product, and I basically met them. We were probably outside waxing cars or washing cars, and they came over one day, and after talking to them, I said, look, when you guys put a band together, call me.
Wow.
They did. I became their music director. I was their 3rd music director, pretty much the 3rd music director and the last guy. They had brought in a friend of theirs from Chicago, I believe. He didn't last long. And then we picked up Danny LaMelle from the old Rick James. Blow, Danny. Right, so these go back a little bit before you guys kind of.
Now, did you work with Rick James too?
Didn't work with Rick James, but Danny LaMelle was his saxophone player.
Okay.
And after 7, hired him as a music director. He didn't last too long either. Once I became music director, then we were on and popping.
Right.
And it was probably for the next 3.5 years.
So that formed after 7. Okay.
Yeah. They were a studio group. They hadn't worked live or anything like that.
And you helped them get there.
Yes.
You helped them get there.
Yes.
Now,
And fortunately got a song on their 2nd album. Their song is called GST. I wrote it. KO, another guy from Cincinnati with a deal, bass player, came to my house, heard the song,
loved it.
Liked it. We went to his house. We wrote the bridge to the song, and then Daryl Simmons, bless his heart, he produced the song.
Okay.
And that song made it to their 2nd album.
Now, KO, what band is he in? Is he?
KO's with the deal.
He's with the deal, and you also work with the deal too.
I never
Now,
worked with the deal,
happens,
but
okay.
the deal came from a group called Essence.
Okay.
We left town with a group named Essence, moved to Indianapolis. That's when we met Babyface.
Okay.
So me, KO, L.A. Reid, Steve Tuck, Larry Middleton, Tony Coates, we all left Cincinnati at 17, 18, moved to Indianapolis.
Wow. And how long you guys stay there?
We stayed there probably a couple of years. We went down south, opened for the Gap Band, Barcades, Chitlin Circuit, but that was our first taste of being on the next level, opening for these groups who had big crowds, because we were coming from playing clubs, and we really didn't know. So we were learning the business, and once we got back to Indianapolis, we kind of fell apart in the group. LA hooked up with Face. They went on to become the deal. I came back and got married, had my children. And then about 8 years later, they called and said, we've got the money to do a record company. Let's do it.
Wow. So that's when that started.
That's where we all moved to Atlanta.
All moved to Atlanta, and that's where everything started to blow up, everything.
Yeah.
Now, at that time, because was that in the 90s or 80s?
We moved to Atlanta in 89.
In 89.
89.
So that's when the deal and After 7, they were all big groups then.
No, they were unheard of. The group had a couple of singles.
Okay.
And so, yeah, Shoot 'em Up Movies was probably a nominal hit for them. You know, the Every Time I Close My Eyes, you know, that song was the big song.
To occasion.
To
I
occasion.
couldn't think of the name.
That was the big song for the deal. It introduced the world to Babyface.
Gotcha.
But After 7 was unheard of. They were just in the studio at that point, working. We went to Atlanta with one group, a group called Davey and Dane. And bless their heart, both of them are deceased now. Yeah. But we had one group when we moved to Atlanta, and we actually signed Jermaine Jackson just to have a name on the label.
But he didn't do no work.
He released one song. I'll think of it in a second. I think it's maybe Don't Take It Personal.
Yeah, Don't Take It Personal.
I think that's the song we did with
Yeah.
Jermaine. And then we were working on TLC though. When I say we were working, I say as a company. That was a lot of Pebbles. Pebbles put that group together and
Right.
worked them and worked them.
She was rapping.
Got the production deal. got the production deal through her face, and the rest is history. I mean, probably the best-selling girls group of all time.
But also too, you know, you guys say nothing, but also to that movie that came out about how that group was ran by Pebbles and what happened to them and how they became dollarless. That was crazy.
Well, one of the things about the business is going into the business as a lay person. You don't know. You have to trust your lawyers. You have to trust the record company owners. There's a lot of people because you don't know, and you're paying your dues. And listen, no company is just going to give an act a bunch of money unproven, no matter how we feel about them. And so most of the time you do have to come back to the table after you're successful and renegotiate and try to get what you feel like you're due.
Now, what do you think, you know, a young person that's coming, or either a person that wants a career in the music outside of just doing just the regular, you know, events or whatever, and they want to get signed. And when they have this contract in front of them, would you suggest them, of course, get an attorney to look at that, but would you suggest they put down a year start and end, so they can come back and renegotiate the contract again? Because I noticed that with TLC, that's one of the things they didn't do. They didn't have an end date on their contract, so she just put it in for 10 years. She had a long time.
End dates aren't common. It's a production thing. So if I sign you for 7 projects, 7 albums, or something like that, well, understand, on a successful album, you can work for 2 years.
Time, yeah.
So 7, that's 14. The music industry is going to change. You're not that young person anymore.
Right.
You go from 20 to 34.
Right.
And so it's a big difference. But the artists don't have any power. They don't have any power when they first come to the table. It's different today because nobody's in it for the long haul like that anymore. No one's signing, well, no one's even buying albums anymore.
No.
So
I mean, they're
now
more
it's
streaming
all,
music, streaming.
now it's all single driven.
Yes.
And the power of a hit record is amazing though. It could take you all over the world.
And do you think that, well, you know, R&B, I mean, Ingrid's a great performer in the R&B studio. She has some music out right now too, but I always start to notice that if you get too slow with the R&B music, it doesn't take off as quick. Cause remember back in the day where they have slow music in clubs and you can slow dance and give you a little, they don't do that no more. You don't go to clubs anymore and hear slow music. That's just an oddity. I mean, you can go there and hear twerking music.
I mean, you might be able to
Back
get
it up
like a
music.
mid-tempo. You know, you gotta have like a mid-tempo or a step song.
Isn't it strange though now that when you go somewhere you see all the girls hanging together and the guys hanging together?
And they don't
So
dance.
That's different than our generation too.
And they don't dance. They don't dance
They
together.
don't dance
Like
no
I just
more.
go out and be with my boys.
Well, yeah, you remember time you would go out and you go out to dance. I would.
To mingle.
Yeah, you go out to dance and cut a rug. Now you can't do none of that stuff. People sitting around and the girls are dancing with their friends. And the guys on the wall like this. I ain't got to do that stuff.
But the difference now, like DJs, when the club started hiring DJs, it really put us out of business here. Now, why pay a band $500 or $600 when I can pay a DJ $50 because the club owners are interested in people getting thirsty and buying liquor?
Right.
They weren't really caring about breaking a new group.
No.
You know, as long as you could bring people into my club. So that's what made us move out of Cincinnati. There was literally no place else to work. Indianapolis had a more thriving live band scene. Up and down 38th Street was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, Midnight Stars up the street.
Right.
We're down the street. Baby Faces around the corner.
Live
With this
bands all
group.
over the place.
Yeah, you got Midnight Star, you got Essence, you got Man Child. There was a group called Merging Traffic. They were just so ahead of the curve.
Wow.
They were playing Chick Corea and jazz kind of stuff. But so much more was happening in Indianapolis, and I think they had probably the population. They probably had about 300,000 black people at that time than Cincinnati did.
You know, it's weird that you're talking about Indianapolis.
Yeah,
We're taking our erotic poetry and wine event, so we didn't hear a lot, and they were popular here. But then, you know, we started having retention issues. So then we thought we're gonna leave with this, and it's been an amazing journey right now. How Indianapolis has just taken us under their wing, like we're ready.
Yeah,
Come on, we're ready. So it's been amazing. So
I'm excited.
I know that's probably a different time in from when you were back there, but I think that, you know, some cities are used to that. They love that live entertainment kind of thing. And some cities, they more like the DJ kind of thing like that. So I think it's just a diverse, but I also think that Cincinnati's catching up a little bit because you do searching for live bands when you're here. I mean, and my husband and I, we usually just go out when we're here. There's gonna be a live band. We go, you know, because that reason. Maybe because I'm in the business. I don't know.
I would say to a point here. I think that here it used to be a lot easier when I was younger to break original music. Because people were really seeking that out more so. So when you got hired to perform, they wanted originals. They really didn't want a lot of covers.
Right.
Now it's the polar opposite. So you know, even for me, original project, it was like, okay, well, shoot, we're gonna do more covers and then integrate everything together.
So they catch on to you. That's true.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
but back in the day, I had to say that.
That
ain't been no way. But back in the day, you know, it was that, and then you also had the radio stations that were behind, making sure local acts got out there. So that push and that support isn't what it once was. To back to his point, you know, when it went there. But I think it started to make a resurgence because they do want to see that originality. So I do think that with the new clubs being built and, like, you know, downtown and everything being overhauled, it is turning back into that. Because I'm starting to get more people wanting the original stuff.
So
thank goodness.
It's strange because the business will actually force you to do that. When I say the business, club owners are part of the business.
Right.
So it's like we were 100% original group with essence, pure essence, and we found out that when we went out to play in the clubs, we had to do covers.
Right.
People want to hear something that's familiar to them. I'll give you a great story. First time we went down south, you know, I'm taking pictures in front of slave shacks.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I'm from Cincinnati.
All right.
I've never seen a slave shack, but we get to Albany, Georgia. We're opening for the Gap Band, and we had played some other place, can't remember, but we were playing our own stuff and got booed.
Oh.
First time I ever been booed in my life.
Where was that again? Where was this?
Down south, Albany, Georgia, I believe.
Albany,
was
Georgia.
The first place we got booed as a group. And we were like, we went back in the dressing room, we looked at each other, and we were just like shocked, you know. It's like, man, they don't understand. You know, we were trying to, some of us were trying to blame it on the crowd, you know, country, you know, but we pulled it together and went back on our stage and did some Rick James or some Earth, Wind and Fire probably. They started loving it.
Wow.
And it taught us something. It really did. It taught us that regardless of what we think,
It's what they think.
It's what they think.
And when you have fans and when you have a crowd in front of you, please the crowd.
Right.
Don't be arrogant and don't be so. Until you get to that point in life to where they're actually coming to hear what you have released, what you put out there. Outside of that, they're just there to drink and have a good time.
Exactly.
So if you don't please them, they will boo you.
Yeah.
I ain't get booed.
Let's see.
Good.
Check any questions. Make a question here. You guys got any questions for Toby? Go right ahead and ask them, and I will read them out loud. So, you got any kind of questions for him? You want to ask questions about the music?
And then while she's looking at questions, I just want to, so back to After 7. So After 7.
I got that, Dwayne. Put his little his YouTube video in there. We got that. I'll let him look at that later on.
So back to After 7, they, you know, of course, they had like their B-side songs and their regular songs. And I remember when Ready or Not came out, I listened to that cover. And Whip Appeal came out, listened to that cover. But it was actually a song on that EP, well, LP now, but it's EP. well, LPs back then, EP now. It was called Sayonara. And
Sayonara,
yeah.
yeah.
I won't be bothered.
Yeah, the world never heard that.
You may
song.
have
I love that
questions. I will
song.
read them if you have questions for Ingrid.
And that song.
Well, they didn't release my song as
Any
a single
questions?
either.
Which one was yours?
GST is on the second
Yeah, it's
album.
on the. I like
GST
that
was a
song.
good sex tonight, but
But-
they didn't release that as a single either. But let me say this about After Seven before I forget. Kevon and Melvin, as a singing duo, even though Keith was in the group, so they were a trio, but Kevon and Melvin did all the lead vocals, and perhaps the greatest duo I've heard in my life. These guys could sing so well that, and Kevon's still out there doing it. Melvin's been replaced now by his son.
Oh, wow.
His son is actually performing with After Seven now, because Melvin's health got bad, and so he's hanging in there. He's still doing okay, but he's not performing live. And I think he did get a chance to sing on this last single or the last project they did. He went into the studio. I saw pictures of him at the studio with them. So bless his heart, but they were just phenomenal. I mean, two of the greatest singers I've ever been blessed to perform with on stage.
So I would just say like that album like changed my whole life. Like
Yeah, Kevon's was
I wouldn't be writing nothing, or I probably would be singing, but I wouldn't be a songwriter if it weren't for that album. So I just wanted to say kudos for that.
That was great.
That changed my life.
Now, you mentioned earlier before Ingrid got here, we were talking about Usher. So when Usher was young, Toby, you took him under your wing and tried to help him have stage presence. Let's talk about that.
Well, take him under my wing. That's one way to put it. Of course, I was a lot older. We signed Usher at 14.
Okay.
By the time he got to 16, he lost his voice, panicked, because he's going through a change in life, you know. He was really scared that he wouldn't be able to sing, but like most kids, he got over that. Went on to have a great career, but yeah, I can remember being in the studio with him, and we were putting this show together out in California, and he was one of those guys that always listens. Just a great kid. Always listened. Would come up with some ideas of his own that we could put in the show. And he's one of those acts that when I didn't perform on stage with him, and I was out in the crowd. I was out in the crowd with the front of the house, you know, the sound man. And it was getting to points in his show that I would actually get goosebumps because I knew what was coming because we had set it up.
Right.
But the crowd didn't know. And he's one of those artists that would still make me get goosebumps, even though I knew this one section was going to come that just killed the crowd.
Right.
But
so you knew it was
I
going to come.
loved working with that kid.
And how was Carl Thomas? Because they don't do very much right now, do they?
Carl, the last I heard of Carl, he was doing cruise ship type things. Yeah, Carl was one of those artists that wasn't out there a long time. Had a very distinctive voice.
Oh yeah.
I think he really came a little late into the business. Like instead of coming in the early 90s, he kind of came toward the late 90s. And then the business was changing. Like LaFay sold in 2000.
Okay.
I had studios in Atlanta open to the public after that. But then everybody started getting home studios, so it just didn't make sense. Most of the major studios have shut down.
Right. You
Number
don't need
one,
them anymore.
well, you don't need them anymore. They couldn't command their price.
Right.
All that ancient equipment sitting up in there now that you can have on a laptop. Everything now is digital and plug-ins.
Right.
But back in our day, we actually buy every piece of that equipment. So I can remember being on stage with 7 keyboards around me because all the keyboards did one thing.
Right.
One or two things. Now, digital music, you open your laptop, you've got millions of sounds right there. So that's a good thing, you know. When I came out of analog, went to digital, that was probably 2002, 2003 when I really...
Was it easy for you to learn?
Yeah, because we were the first guys doing sequencers on keyboards.
Okay.
So keyboards didn't have sequencers on when I was growing up. So once they did that, once they started putting those sequencers, then you had to learn. You had to learn the sequences. So that part of it's never been hard for me.
Was it like a complete relief? Because I know, because I know speaking back to like when Kevin did his solo project, the producer that I actually was under his umbrella, Angela Ray, was working on that project, yeah, and so he was like very instrumental in my earlier career in life. But there would be times where we'd be sitting up there writing, and if you didn't sing to that the right way, Lord Jesus, so I know you was probably happy to not like lose all your stuff.
Well, that's funny you mentioned the word DAT, because that seems archaic now, right? But I've got boxes of DATs at home. That's digital audio tape for people that don't know.
Yeah.
And it's a little square box. We used to get them right from the major studios. So I could, when I was music director for, let's say, SWV or any of the other groups, Monica, I could order the backgrounds, acapellas, instrumentals, and have all these different versions of the song that I could manipulate and put together. But now it's hard to find a DAT player. Yeah, it's just gone now.
You should have brought one of these because we look like, I don't know what it looks like.
It's like a little square.
It's a square little box,
Yeah.
no bigger than that. It's just, but the cleanest,
I would say that sound.
the sound is just remarkable.
Oh, really? Better than electronics?
I think on some voices, it depends on the voice, but I do believe that, especially on the stronger voices, I feel it was a lot cleaner. It didn't sound as processed. That's just my personal.
Well, these are from the major studios now, so everything is there, all the mastered vocals. Some people don't know what mastering really is, but there was guys like Herb Powers in New York who could just do amazing things. You take a great singer and whose level is already here above people, and then you stick him up here just by knowing what to do. Yeah, adding decay to the end of the phrases and things like that is just ridiculous how well you can make a person sound.
So with your career, so your talents is well sought after. I mean, it's not a lot of people that are like you, or has that changed where there's many people like you now?
No, there still ain't a whole lot of people.
Because
like
There's still not a lot of Toby
because of your
Rivers in the
knowledge.
world.
Now she
yeah.
But what's happening now is that, like with my sons, when they come to my studio, they can download beats, put a couple of loops together, do the vocals, song's done. You see, where with me, I'm still old school.
Right.
To where my session might look like this, in sounds and different sounds, their session looks like this.
Okay.
And so, but it kind of goes to what you were saying as far as listening to those vocals and things, it's just not the same. It's not the same now. When I was coming up, I mean, you had to be a great vocalist to really be successful in the business. I hear things on the radio now where I say, man, that guy can't sing at all. I'm not knocking it. I'm knocking it because you're part of your own times. This is your time.
Right.
Like I basically had my time.
Right.
Even though I'm still plugging away. My project I'm working on now is just full of good music. The one great thing about music is that it's used in every venue.
Oh yeah.
And so whether you get it on a movie, whether that movie is just straight to Netflix or going into the theaters, whatever, commercials. At one point in my life, I met this one lady. She had a marketing company, so I started doing a lot of McDonald's commercials.
I was going to ask you about that. That's going to be my next question about jingles. Were you writing those types of things?
I like to do jingles. They're very, they're kind of organic. I did a McDonald's jingle for when they came out with the fruit and nut salad, or when the dollar menu first came out.
How did it go?
Well, I think it went great. They paid me.
No, I'm trying to sing it.
Oh, you want me to sing?
Yeah, I want you to hum it. I want you to
Oh
hum
my
it or
God, I have
something.
to think back on that one. Give me a moment.
Okay, I'll give you.
Back. That was 3 years ago. But this was the early.
Yeah, because I remember it was
And so you might not have heard it here.
Oh, okay.
It was probably a regional commercial.
Gotcha.
To where if I did a commercial for McDonald's in Atlanta, it probably wouldn't get heard unless it was a nationwide commercial.
Yeah, because I remember the thing they had now.
That's their
Their
hook.
hook.
That's
yeah.
their hook.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Whoever came up with that melody for them should have gotten paid.
Do you guys? This is way off subject, but you know I gotta say it. You guys remember we watched the sports channel for their commercials? Was that Super Bowl?
Super Bowl.
And they had the Bud little frog thing. I think those were the best commercials ever. Cause you sit there and just laugh all day with those commercials. But now the commercials are just
corny.
Yeah.
Well, they charge so much money for them in the first place in order to get one place that's almost crazy.
But guess what? Now, you know, it seems to me though that I watch a lot of the YouTube videos about the changes that are happening in the world right now. And you know how before you would go to TV or radio and ask them, hey, put me on. You ain't gotta do that no more. Now, with social media, you may not get, you know, 1 billion people, but you can get close to, you know, 500,000 people liking your stuff. And sometimes if you go viral, you can get 1 million people.
Right.
So I think some of the days now of paying for these commercials, you really don't have to do anymore. If you
Yes,
for
I
now,
agree.
But I think soon as the world catch on to this type of thing that we're doing,
Right.
and free, I think it's going to definitely change. I don't think it's going to stay like this.
Well, there's an old school factor there of people who, if you've been with me for 20, 30 years from a marketing standpoint,
Yes.
and I have a shot at the Super Bowl, I mean, that's the prize,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So, but me and my wife watched the Super Bowl, and we weren't really impressed with the commercials.
No, not no more. Those days
At all.
are done. Those are gone. Those
Like
days are
I
gone.
still say my all-time favorite Super Bowl commercial was the What's Up commercial.
Oh yeah, what's up? Yeah, that was good. That was
That's
good.
crazy.
That was good. It went viral. Everybody's like, oh, what's up? You know, that was kind of.
But let me say this in conjunction with what you were saying about having a number of fans. See, the good thing about the digital age is that at this point right now, I'd rather sell 200 T-shirts than 200 singles because the money's not there.
Right.
I'll give you the music.
Right.
Buy my T-shirt.
There you go.
If it costs me
And
$3
we
or $4 or
already know that.
$5,
We already know that.
if it
Just
costs me
put it
$3
on
or $4 or
repeat,
$5 to
stream the
make
hell out
a
of it.
T-shirt and I can sell it for $19.95, great. I'd rather do that. And to go out and get 300,000, 400,000, even 200,000 fans. If each one of those fans gives you $1, you're doing pretty well.
You know, it's so funny because, like I said, me and Ingrid been hanging out for a while. And when Girlfriendz Networking Group is my company, but it's also branding and publicist company. Ingrid came on with me, and what was the first thing I told
She's
you?
like, let's get some T-shirts. I'm like, fine. We'll get some T-shirts.
Well, we sat down and talked about our marketing strategies for her.
Yeah.
And I told her I don't really care about gigs. I don't care about doing a gig somewhere. But what I do care about is the brand and creating your look, creating what you look like, also to creating a merchandise that favors you, that can get you over the top. And so you get something like that, and you get 20 people to buy your shirt for $25. How much is that?
Right.
And she's like, and we went out and did it, and you know,
Like the Forrest Gump movie, when he was running and he got the mud on him, right? And he wiped his face, and then he threw the T-shirt. The guy looked at it and saw the happy face, right? And then he went on to make $1 billion off of just that. That concept is still happening today.
Right.
So, for guys and girls who are looking to be this famous person, like I would say, don't chase.
No.
Be a businessman.
There you go.
Be a businesswoman.
There you go.
And learn how to, because you'll find out that the fame is so fleeting that it didn't matter whether you were chasing it or not. It's not one of the most important things. Your family, your business sense. One of the things with us as a people, or what they call black people, I mean, black.
Us brownies.
It's It's really real, but that's a whole different subject. Don't get me talking about that.
He said, well,
Yeah, but
You can talk about whatever you want.
you know, that'll take me down the road of how the English language has just been, you know, whether you're blackballed or there's a black cat that walks in front of you, and all these negative things that
around the
come
word
up with
black. Yes.
Right. So when you say black people, that's just negative to most Americans, middle America. That has a negative connotation, so I don't like to use
But
that.
you notice something lately? We as a people take that word black and we'll change it, flip it, so that word is a positive word.
I always thought
Black power.
Well,
We
did,
change it.
color.
did we try to do that with nigger though?
We did.
I never
You
did.
see what I'm saying? Instead of just not use the word, we tried to take
We
it
tried
and
to change
turn it
it.
around.
We did.
But could we just let it die?
We could have.
Well, you know,
No,
I,
it's a
You know,
truth,
the other
though.
side of the coin
No,
is,
it is.
could we
Because-
just
but-
leave it alone?
We could have. We could have let it die. But you know, when a word that's been in society for so long and has been so ugly for a long time, you can't be always mad at something that you can't change.
Well, that's a waste of time.
well,
It's a
Being mad at
waste of
something
time
is a
that you
waste of
can't
time anyway.
change. You know, so I think that you're gonna have to find not a positive image in the word, but to know that you're not that. So that word doesn't apply to me or anybody that I know. So it's just your word.
Let's talk about this for a second, because you mentioned,
Sure.
when you mentioned like Pebbles and the
Oh,
TLC situation, you know, every major artist on the LaFace label had to sue the label.
Yes.
I know.
I mean, Usher, Tony Braxton.
I didn't know Usher had to sue.
Yeah.
Of course.
He did?
Yeah.
What did
Because
he
it's
do?
just the nature of the
Money.
business. It's the nature of the business. When you first came in, nobody was going to say, listen, we're gonna give you all this money. So you prove yourself. Understand something, as an artist, you're a singer and a dancer.
Right.
Well, look at your history. People have been singing and dancing for their money
Oh, yeah.
forever.
Right,
And when
right.
Even when you become a senior person, you still singing and dancing out there. Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh my God,
From
yeah.
a child, from 2-3 years old, and singing and dancing until you ready to meet your maker. You're still
Right.
out there singing and dancing for your money. But the thing we don't really learn at home as a people is business. So unless you grew up in a household where your parents owned the business, you really don't learn business. And this has been my experience.
No, you speak
So,
the truth. You speak the
My
truth.
parents didn't teach me really anything about
Mine
business. They
didn't
taught
either.
me about love. They taught me about go get a job.
Mhm.
They said you better have some money, but they didn't really teach me what to do with that money
Because they may
after I got it.
not have known.
More than likely they didn't know.
Because I know my parents didn't know. I think we don't know as a people what we're capable of until, believe it or not, somebody shows you you. And people say, well, you don't need nobody. Yeah, you do. You
Of
do.
course.
You know, and for me, you know, my husband is, you know, a good part of my life that showed me you can do anything you want to do. And I didn't believe it until, all these years down the line to be married. You're like, I'm tired of you working for other people. You need to go make us some money. It's like that. So, it's hard. It's a hard thing now that we have kids. We teach them, I tell my daughter all the time, you don't want to work for nobody. You want to be the person that they work for.
And that puts it's good to have the knowledge.
Yes.
But then you also have to realize the other side of the coin. Is that person a business person? Are they an owner or are they an employee? And sometimes it's hard to separate when you're so close, like if you love somebody or something like that, a family member. But
Our friends.
believe me, or friends, there are some people who are better employees than they are actually running a company. Okay, just like the horror stories we've heard about people winning the lottery.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the next thing you know, $5 million ruined their life.
Right. Right.
See?
Right.
And so everybody is not ready for that. Ready for
But you
that
don't think
kind
that
of
you can be
pressure.
groomed because
Well, some people can. Some
yeah,
people
because
can't.
with my daughter, I told her this when she was little, and I thought didn't catch on. I thought maybe she could be one of those people that had to work for somebody. And then when she turned 17 and a half, she has this store on Amazon.
Mhm.
And I found out later, like she has it all set up, and I'm going like, what is this? She said, oh, this is my store. I need a P.O. box. So I'm like, you are listening. So I think that sometimes if you talk, you know, and you don't know what you don't know, you know, everybody can bring everybody knowledge. I bring you knowledge, you bring me knowledge.
Right.
You're bringing us knowledge.
Right.
You're bringing them knowledge.
But from a parent,
Message.
now, you know, a parent, that gets into a whole nother thing,
Oh,
because
yeah.
after you go to work all day, and whatever it is that you use to keep your yin and yang,
Right.
you know, beat your kids to death or whatever the case may be, and you come home and you're not in that mindset to teach the child business. You might be like, okay, let me see your homework. Let me make sure you're doing this. Make sure you got clean clothes. Make sure you got food. And then I'm ready to go to bed because I got to get up and work in the morning.
It's so true.
So when do you really have the time? My father was born in 1919, 1920. He didn't have a chance to do anything. So the times were against him also, as far as trying to teach me business. But you know what he did?
What?
Made me get my butt up every morning when on Saturdays, he didn't raise no lazy sons.
Right.
So it was like, get up. I don't care if he was going to the bar. He was going to the bar because we didn't know. We thought he was just going to have a drink right when we were young. But he was actually taking us around people who were going to work that day, so that I could learn how to paint and I could learn how to, I mean, we built tennis courts and swimming pools in Indian Hill because that's where our family doctor lived.
Well, I thought you said he had time. There's your time.
He had time to take me with him and put me with someone else.
But that's teaching you though.
But that's teaching
that's
me.
Teaching
So
you.
it's a great thing. You have to find a way.
He taught you his way.
You have to find
Now,
a way.
even though he didn't verbally say this is what he taught you, what he knew and how he.
Right.
So he did teach.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And but there's a lot of people don't have that. You know. So
Yeah,
but that's
people don't
amazing.
have any guidance.
And
It's
look at
just
you
what's
now.
on
Look at
TV.
you. What have you learned? That work. You know, it paid off. You know.
Yeah, I got in trouble one time in life, and my mother looked at me and said, what would your father think if you was doing this? And, you know, it had a profound effect on me because I remembered her statement after all these years. And so, yeah, when you think about the responsibility you have for legacies and things like that, a lot of young people don't think like that. But once you get older and you start to think about, well, what am I going to leave for my children, and what kind of person was I really to them? Not my opinion, their opinion of me. Those things start to matter more and more.
Now, did we talk about your family? How many kids you got?
And let's see, I only had 2 by blood.
Okay.
But I traveled a lot of my life, so it was hard to meet a female who didn't have a child, truthfully. And so my first child in Indianapolis, when we moved there, I was a young guy, but my girl
had a child.
Today, we're still the best of friends.
Wow.
And she came to visit me in Atlanta just last year, 2 years ago at least. And so when I see her on Facebook and it's always happy birthday or whatever, I have another child in New Orleans.
Okay.
I put up some kind of something on Facebook one day, and she said, that's right, Dad. And it touched me, you know, because I was like, she hadn't called me Dad in a while, and I don't see her often. But my 2 children, Toby Jr. and Naya has Eddie Griffin, was my son-in-law, the comedian.
Oh yeah.
She's got 2 children by Eddie Griffin.
Okay.
And living in Vegas.
Her and Eddie sit together?
No.
Okay.
No, Eddie got 10 kids. But to his credit, he takes care of his children. And that's the whole point of having them. So I think I'm up to about, let's see, my son's, his girl is pregnant with the 2nd child.
Okay.
And then my son through marriage, that baby's coming in May. So I think that's number 14 and 15 grandchildren.
Wow. You have a big family.
That's a lot. I don't get no ideas over there.
It's almost like a football
So
team.
if people ask me, like, you gonna retire? Like, no, never.
Too many birthdays
Oh my God.
to work for.
Now, gosh, when we great close up this thing.
Yeah.
But I know it went so fast
I know.
though. So, but let's talk about what you're doing right now, because we talked a little bit about your reggae. So you got an album coming out real soon here.
Yeah. In around 1987, I had a friend named Greg introduced me to reggae. I had known about it. I even had a cousin playing keyboard with a group called Eastwind in town. And but I always thought the music was so simplistic and I didn't understand it. And I used to go see the shows and they'd be playing a couple of chords for 20 minutes and I was like, man, that would bore me to death, you know? But then I started listening to the lyrics and I started getting involved in some of the English threads. I mean, the Still Pulse. So there's so many different kinds, and then Third World. The musicianship was there, everything was there, but they were singing about causes, and it was so spiritual, and I started really understanding. Then I found out that with my R&B groups, I always had to have somebody front the group, because I really couldn't sing everybody's songs. But I found my voice doing reggae. So then I started fronting my own Tough band, it was called Tough, to a point to where I could go sing a Bob Marley song my way. Or I could sing David Hines from Still Pulse and do it my way and be accepted. So the Jamaican star, I did that for a couple of years until I got the call from LA Babyface. And actually took a pay cut when I went to Atlanta. Because I was doing really well working colleges, and that band was on the forefront of getting ready to kind of blend R&B and reggae together.
Yeah.
And here it is now. I'm still doing that. So my project is very reggae influenced, a lot of world kind of beats, and so it's Toby, Tough, and Friends. So I'm using a lot of my, not using, but a lot of my friends are helping me
Collaborate.
Put this project together and really make it something we can be proud of. And that's coming out soon. So I'm about 10 songs down on it right now. I'm probably going to do like 15 or so.
Oh, wow.
And then we're going to do some things in this town that I really wanted to do. Because at one point with After 7, I had an all Cincinnati band.
Wow.
If it was 7 guys in a group, there were 6 from Cincinnati and 1 from Indianapolis.
That's cool.
So I've always
Integrated.
try to what we call reach back, right? I didn't have the time to really come and teach how to make it out of a town that has no music business really in it. And that's the things like the Bootsy Collins or Reggie Calloway from Midnight Star. A lot of the guys that we stay so busy that it's very hard, and who wants to really move back to the place that you felt like you escaped from, even though it's your home. Because everybody that I've met in life is either a co-worker or a acquaintance, a band member, but it's the people back home that knew me. You see what I'm saying? And so they knew my mother, they knew my father, but my brother knew me growing up. And so these are the people that are really close to you and know you. So it's a joy for me to be back home now. We moved back home. My wife's mother, getting older.
Oh, yeah.
Glad she's still here. And but my wife asked me a couple of years ago, would I think about moving back?
So
And
how long have you guys
after 30
been back
years,
here now? How many years?
we moved back last May.
Oh, so you're brand new back here.
My first winter.
Almost a year
First
anniversary.
winter. So I started doing business development. I never thought I would sell cars in my life, but my father sold cars in this town. My older brother sold cars in this town. Never thought I would, but around 2006, 2007, I had an opportunity to go into Nissan. And so for the first 4 years, I learned how to make my way. Won all their top awards, and then went into management, business development. So even when I'm back here, I get a call from one of my friends that's general manager of the Nissan store, south, about 40 minutes maybe south of the airport in Atlanta. So he called me and said, I need you. So I went to Atlanta for 19 days in December, January, and February.
Wow.
And this month I just said, I'm not going back. I need to be at home. I need to finish my project. So I started a painting and pressure washing company. So I'm always doing something.
Yeah.
Always doing
Entrepreneurs
something.
do that. You have to do that.
You know.
The budding trend from the creative.
So we're here, we're gonna put together some shows down probably at the Friars Club and a couple of stuff in town. I'm looking for I'm looking for talent. Put
Yeah.
it that way. I'm
Cool.
looking for talent that that can benefit from my experience and my knowledge and the blessings that I've had.
Well, you know, that's why you gotta talk to Girlfriendz networking group with me, and we're gonna chat it out.
Yeah, you came to the right corner.
You came to the right corner. Then you came to the right corner.
You know.
Angel reached out for me, and you know, I said, okay, well, let me do a little homework to find out who Girlfriendz network is. But it didn't take me long to make the decision and say, well, let me go talk to them and find out what they're doing. They can find out what I'm doing. You know, I had brought a book.
I know,
I brought my photo album.
We're so excited.
Babyface in this book.
He's definitely in that book, and a lot of other artists too.
But you know, it's so funny though. But I know people when I hit them up on Facebook, Instagram, I know they're looking at me because I'm also a movie person too. So I do all the little skits. They're going like, what is she doing? But it made you laugh though, didn't it?
Right. No, you have a fun show here.
Yes, we do.
You know, you seem like great people.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
And I'm happy to meet you guys.
We're so
and
happy
be able to start something that we can grow.
Yeah, you know what? And also too, anytime you want to come back to ChatCorner,
You just let us know.
You let us know. Come back and we talk about your albums you got going. Maybe play some things for us or whatever.
Be happy to.
Love to hear it.
Now, and you know what? I know we don't land. I hope they cut you off over there already. So
To all of my Facebook friends.
you guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Girlfriendz ChatCorner. Toby Rivers Senior's in the house.
Yes, he is in the house.
We are so appreciative that he came through. I hope you guys enjoyed this interview like we enjoyed this
had a lot of
interview.
fun.
We did have a lot of fun.
And I'm about to fall out this chair.
Baby
So we come back and let's get to the nuts and bolts of how to take an artist from A and get them to the
sounds
next
good to
level.
me. Sounds good to me.
About the deepest.
Because I've written marketing plans out. My wife says I should sell them, but for me, I probably end up just giving it away, giving the information
Well, you want to
away.
give it to Girlfriendz ChatCorner.
Yeah.
So,
We got you, boo. We got you.
That's a step by step on what to do, and there's a lot of kids here that don't know.
We may keep that.
We got you.
Yeah.
We got you.
But anyway, guys, thank you so much for
thank
tuning in. As we always say, good night tonight. But I want to let you know, next week, Stephanie Dumels.
Yes.
Hamilton County Commissioner will be in the house. You guys do not want to miss that interview either.
Oh, been the easy.
Thank you and good night. Have a
Good night.
Bye-bye.